Hey everybody, it's March 18th, I think. Today's a special day, actually. We'll get to that later. My name is still Kevin, as far as I know, and this is still Coin Metro, but now with a lowercase m, in case anybody's confused, because I'm noticing right now my banner below my name has an uppercase m. So I'm going to fix that real quick because that's just ridiculous. Give me a second. There we go. Now we should be good. All right, Coin Metro lowercase m. Very good. This is called an AMA. You ask, I answer. At least I hope I can answer. And even if I can't answer, I'm going to try and answer. That's the game I play with myself every day. So here we go. We have, I think, a couple questions already rolling in, so I'm just going to get started. By the way, if you happen to be in town and you work for Coin Metro, tonight is Coin Metro's birthday officially. So 4 years old today, 4 years old. So no longer wearing diapers, which is cool. Talking, but communication might not be the best yet, but we're getting there. And we can, walk and run. So awesome. Okay, going on to the first one. This isn't a question, but hey to you. So we're going to keep this one at 30 minutes, by the way, guys, because I had to change a flight and I'm flying out to Dubai at 7 p.m. here locally. So I need to keep this to a half an hour because I'm still not ready to go. And I have Friday meetings and all kinds of the stuff I got to attend to. So I'm going to try to move fast. From Jeremy, looking forward to the AMA as always. Appreciate that. When will CM be listing kadena tokens such as KDL? So I'm going to say starting from end of April, we will start looking at the possibilities of listing kadena tokens. That's going to include K assets like KBTC, KETH, and it's going to include other potential kadena tokens. I mean, we don't list all Ethereum tokens, so I won't expect to list all kadena tokens, but we will open up that possibility, especially with CADEX coming online. There will be other places to derive liquidity, et cetera. Plus, we can work with CADEX and kadena to make sure that Coin Metro can fit very intricately into that universe. Hey, Kevin, would it be possible to have margin trades pay out in XCM or the asset pair you're trading against, instead of fiat, most like an inverse prep? I guess that's a inverse perpetual. It's possible. Right now, you're paid in your the asset using for collateral. It is possible in the future that we could add additional, let's say, non-plain vanilla options for trading on margin. However, the more options we add, the more it's going to start looking like, just like you're mentioning, like a future. And if it looks like a future, smells like a future, tastes like a future, acts like a future, the regulator is going to call it a future. And we don't currently have licensing to allow for futures trading. So we have to walk a line there. But I do think, once we acquire this investment firm license, which was planned for this year, but now more likely will be next year because we're going after US licensing this year, it's possible that we could add all kinds of options like this, and more than likely that we would. Hey, Kevin, obviously you don't have a crystal ball. I have a few. I can't say that they work. But do you think it's unrealistic to say XCM may one day reach 50 or even $100 in the far future? Would love to hear your opinion. So I was actually thinking about this today. I have no idea why. It wasn't necessarily in the context of how much XCM will be worth. But, I normally get these kind of questions. So think of it like this. Imagine, I'll give you an extreme example. Berkshire Hathaway stock. Anybody know what a Berkshire Hathaway one stock costs? It's never split. I think it's something like $300,000 or something crazy like that. One stock. And the reason for that is, there's never been a stock split. And obviously it's grown over time. The value has risen. So XCM isn't a stock. It's not an equity. It's not a security. However, I can't say with certainty that in the future, the utility token market is not going to look something like an equities market. People already, in their own minds, equate the utility token of a company to something like a security because they look at the market cap, they try to figure out the valuation of the company, et cetera. And even if you look right now at Coin Metro's current market cap versus our valuation, which is now printed at 180 million, you will clearly see that there is a correlation. There's not a correlation because we made a correlation. There's a correlation because the market itself makes a correlation. So having said that, if you look at companies as they grow in equities, just as a comparison, look at something like, in modern day, you can look at Tesla, you can look at whatever, or you can look at GM, Coca-Cola, whatever company you want to look at. As companies grow, their stock prices increase. That makes sense. But I think here we're going to see a similar phenomenon here. So is it possible that Coin Metro's market cap of its token, if it stays aligned with at least 1-to-1, and I think, to be honest, as I said many times, it should be probably 3-to-1 or 5-to-1 at some point, because we're going to need more liquidity to support the marketplace, especially when all these different tokenomics come in line. Not just tokenomics 2.0, but 3.0, 4.0, 5.0. It's going to require more liquidity to support those tokenomics. Not more liquidity, well, not more liquidity, but just a bigger market cap. So if you know, CoinMarket's worth $1 billion, or CoinMetrics worth $1 billion, then it's worth $5 billion, then it's a $10 billion company. At that point, well, the token value, obviously, if this correlation continues, would be worth significantly more than it is now. According to our current valuation, that would be what? At $5 billion, that's what's that, 20 times? More than that, 25 times, 26, 27 times more. 27 times more we are now would already bring us up to 13, 14 euros. So something like 15 US dollars. And that's just hitting that milestone, never mind milestones after that. And like I said, I do believe at some point, and that's probably a good threshold, right around a 5 billion valuation, we would need XCM to be worth more in order to support the tokenomics, meaning the market would have to increase the price in order to support the ecosystem. Did you have any say on Parsec team's decision to create a new token? No, I didn't, but as far as I know, it's not a Parsec team. IQ Protocol is its own business. It just raised 12 million on a, I would assume, probably somewhere between a 60 and 120 million valuation. And so it's not it was a Parsec project to begin with. The idea was, well, it was a project built on Parsec using Parsec's, the language that Parsec built called Parsicle. They built the IQ protocol. So that would be like if, you know, I don't know, an Ethereum DEX somehow was tied, is tied to Ethereum, and you say that it was an Ethereum project. Well, it's an Ethereum project because it's built on Ethereum, but Ethereum doesn't own it. And I think it's the same thing here. Well, maybe the ownership structure might be something similar. I don't know, to be honest. But I didn't have any say. If they would have asked me, I wouldn't be against so much a new token. I think maybe what they could have done a bit better there was communication and making the tokenomics clear enough, and potentially even driving Parsec's tokenomics with the innovations that IQ Protocol is bringing. I still think they're going to do that. You know, tokenomics is like a modern business plan. So normally with a business plan, you start with a certain business plan, whatever that business plan is. We're going to sell widgets to people who want to buy widgets. And then, the widget business sucks and you have to pivot. So you pivot. So your business plan on day one and your business plan on day 700 or whatever is probably going to be different. In fact, I would say in many markets, it has to be different or your business dies. And so to me, tokenomics is the same thing. Your tokenomics on day one is not going to be your tokenomics on day whatever. If you want to continue to provide value and increase value to your user base, those tokenomics are going to change. And so with that end, I do believe that there will be more of a cohesive relationship between the business built using Parsicle and we will see more integration into the, let's say, the Parsec ecosystem in general. But to answer your question, no, they didn't come and ask me my opinion. Also, been trying to run my own Flux nodes, but having issues. Thinking of moving all my Flux to CM and staking. What will the yield look like there now that the halving has occurred? Well, we have fixed ratios. I believe on Flux, you get at the top somewhere between 85 and 90%, if I'm not mistaken. So that's on tier 3, all the way down to tier 1. I think we're talking, or not tier, well, whatever. But you have to look at the Flux page. I forget how the tiers work for Flux, but XCM tiers. Depends on your XCM tier. So if you're in tier 3, you're going to get, I think, upwards of 85, 90% of whatever the current rate is from Flux. Tier 1 is going to be lower, obviously, and no tier is going to be lower than that. Any thoughts on making CoinMetro ATMs? Well, as you'll see, there's countries shutting down ATMs rather regularly. I don't think we need ATMs. I think ATMs are one of those Band-Aid solutions. Now, the Band-Aid might have to be there for a few years, but they are Band-Aid solutions. It's because crypto isn't accepted at places. It's because there isn't a modern Visa-type infrastructure or SWIFT-type infrastructure that would allow for simpler payments with crypto or quicker transition from crypto to fiat so you can make payments. I think ATMs are not really a thing. I think they're a thing, but they're a thing because the overall industry just hasn't matured to the point where they're no longer a thing. To be honest, I think in many ways, in many countries, cash ATMs are no longer a thing. Obviously, there are countries where cash is still king and you have to pay most things in cash. But in most first world countries now, most people don't use cash. They use a card. In fact, I think there's a stat out there that in Estonia, 85% of payments are made electronically. I have never seen a line here at an ATM. But in Mexico, I've seen lines, out the door around the corner. Sounds okay. Well, that's good because I've been talking for a while here. Appreciate that. Are you going to buy IQ token? That's a good question. I do believe we're going to integrate IQ at some point onto CoinMetro once it's on and has liquidity on a protocol that we can support. Polygon might be it. And I might. I think, there's been a lot of talk in our Telegram. There's a couple individuals that were throwing lots of shade all over Parsec. On the internet, everybody thinks their opinion is a fact. Well, I shouldn't just say on the internet. That happens in real life as well. But your opinions aren't facts. My opinions aren't facts either. I may try to argue them to the point you might think that I'm speaking facts, but that's just how an argument, that's just how a good dispute or a good argument or a good back and forth happens. Everybody's trying to prove a point. To me, I still hold my PRQ tokens. I haven't sold them. I don't plan on selling them. I still see long-term value in PRQ. If PRQ didn't exist, IQ protocol wouldn't function. IQ protocol, though, is very interesting, especially with NFT renting, etc. I think that is a thing. I think that will be a thing. I think they will have lots of competition as well, renting NFTs, especially as NFTs start, or I should say I hate saying NFTs because people automatically think of like Bored Apes. And no, please don't make that correlation. NFTs are non-fungibles, are much more useful than fungibles in many ways, whether that be in finance, whether that be in e-commerce, whether that be in government, that'd be all types of different industries. So I may, absolutely I might. I can't really tell you that right now, though. Happy birthday, CoinMetro. Thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate it. When are additional burning mechanisms, margin fees, penalties, blah, 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 expected to be integrated could really be needed to support current XCM price? They will be integrated. We plan on integrating at least one new feature into tokenomics. The goal is to do that once a month. So, and some of those may come in batches, right? So it doesn't mean we're going to do margin 1 month, swap fees another month, penalties. Those all may come in one update. Then the next update may be something new, like a new Mars asset, for example. Parsec or IQ? I own Parsec. I don't own IQ. I potentially would own both. I wouldn't pick one or the other. There isn't much. The only correlation there is that they may share some ownership at some level. IQ is built using Parsicle, which is the language that Parsec created. That's like saying, I don't know, Ethereum or SushiSwap, or whatever, or Ethereum or Uniswap. Is there really a reason to not own both? I mean, if you like both entities, I don't personally own any Uniswap, but I do own Ethereum. But if I was using Uniswap, I would probably own their token. And I wouldn't say, well, now that I own Uniswap, I'm not going to go ahead and bother by buying Ethereum. I don't think that makes any sense. Happy birthday to CM. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thoughts on Hypercent, KDA Launchpad? I haven't looked too much into them. I would say that launchpads are essential to helping the kadena ecosystem grow, as long as it's done in a compliant manner and that they are, careful and don't cause too much, the negative spotlight to come on the ecosystem in general. I think it's a good thing. Do you like ApeCoin? I do not. I would not list ApeCoin. Well, I can't say I wouldn't list it. Look, the Bored Ape thing is, and I just mentioned it before. I mean, I think it's, if you have this rationale in your head that people are paying millions of dollars for a drawing that a computer did that probably randomly generated 10,000 off of one digital drawing in about a millisecond, then of course you're going to think Bored Ape Yacht Club is absolute horseshit. And that's why most people in the world think, if they were asked, that Bored Ape Yacht Club, well, most of them don't know what it is, but if you explain it to them in that way, oh, these are digital pictures that people pay millions for, people would say, well, that's stupid. I'm sure most people would. When you think of it in the way that it's kind of a membership card, and that membership card can get you access into exclusive events where maybe you're going to do some business, maybe you're going to meet future investors, maybe you're going to just be able to talk with other people that understand your interests, then there seems to be a value there, just like people historically have paid hundreds of thousands and sometimes millions to be part of real yacht clubs. But this yacht club allowed people to buy in the beginning with very little amount of money. And yes, if you've ever been to a yacht club or owned, I've never been a part of a yacht club, but I know how they work. You pay a membership fee and that membership fee rises over time. So when you go to sell your membership at some point, you can make some money. Now you have to pay dues and everything, so maybe you don't make money. But anyway, it appreciates over time. So this is kind of the modern day version of that. Like, who cares if you have a yacht? Who cares if you have a boat? You don't need to go eat a cucumber sandwich every day at 3 to be part of this yacht club. And it's going to rise exponentially in value. At least it did initially. So that aspect is kind of neat. Now, the token itself, to tokenize pieces of that valued membership, might actually be quite cool. I know why we've seen listings of this already with Binance, Coinbase. And the reason for that is that they know there's a lot of people that are going to buy it. They're not listing it because they think it's cool that it actually has a use case. They don't care. They're listing it because they know there's a lot of people that are going to buy into it, and it's going to create volume. Now, obviously, from a business perspective, that sounds all well and good, but if we act like everybody else and do everything else everybody does, then we're just like everybody else, which would mean, why would you come to CoinMetro? Why would you interact with us? We'd be the same as Binance, and Binance has more liquidity. We're the same as Coinbase. Coinbase has worse pricing and shitty customer service. I don't know, but for whatever reason, you would end up at those other venues. So for right now, I'm not listing ApeCoin. However, I do think they may potentially be able to make something quite interesting out of that token. How do you think the instability of the commodities market will affect the crypto market overall, if at all? Panic buying of oil, wheat. Well, the commodities market in general, just straight, people panic buy wheat, people buying wheat futures or whatever. That in and of itself, I don't think will affect so much the crypto market, but it will affect equities. It will create a risk on or risk off atmosphere, probably risk off for the most part. People have been focusing on, obviously, the war in Ukraine in many different aspects. And I've heard a few people say that it could lead to mass famine, but I don't hear that covered too much. And, I think it's between Russia and Ukraine. I think we're talking about, I've heard a number 40% of, I don't know if it's the world's or just Europe's, but 40% of wheat exports. That's pretty interesting. That's, aside from the natural gas, aside from that affecting oil prices, aside from energy prices in general rising, food, you can probably go without driving your car for a little bit. Maybe not everybody. Some people might lose their jobs or whatever, but generally speaking, you're not going to immediately die in 7 days if you don't have gas, but you can die if you don't eat. Not in 7 days, most people, but maybe upwards of 30. But that's a shitty way to go. Point is that I think what will affect the crypto market, and this, I don't know if this will be negative or positive, is just like people don't understand the impacts of COVID on inflation. They didn't understand it before. They still don't understand it. They think this current inflation spike is only because of the war in Ukraine. It's not. It's been building up for years, and COVID pushed it even faster. Inflation is going to be disgusting. Right now, it's at a 40-year high. Expect, a 100-year high. Expect, I've never seen this before, ever high, and expect that to happen across a multitude of industries. And when it starts to attack industries that are vital, yes, energy is vital, but there are energy options. They may be more expensive, but if there's no food, there's no food. So that's a much different aspect. So I think, the risk-on approach to the market may help crypto to a certain extent. But if things get to a point where people are worrying about their ability to heat their homes, their ability to eat, their ability to put food on the table, they're not going to be worried about their Bitcoin investment. They're not going to be worried about buying some Bitcoin because I might make some money. They're going to be worried about much more closer to home things. But from a high level, all of that volatility will affect all world markets. We've seen that there's definitely still correlation between equity markets and crypto. So equity markets taking a dump, which they probably will. We are going to be led into one of the biggest global recessions in modern history. That's for sure. If people haven't realized that, they're behind the times. Inflation is just the word just escapes me. Transitional. Yeah. So if you're still holding that card up, then maybe you haven't realized it yet. But this is going to be a massive recession. Now, people with money and wealthy people in certain industries generally get more wealthy. So that could mean that institutional money starts to flow even harder into crypto, which actually could be good for us. So lots to unravel there. We got about 12 minutes left, so I'm going to try to speed it up here. Sorry about taking too long on that one. Hey, Kevin, in 1 year, how many tokens do you expect on Mars? Please add HBAR on CM. So HBAR has definitely been on a short list here or there, but it's mainnet, and that's why it hasn't come yet. We were focusing more on ERC20 tokens, or ERC tokens, I should say. When it comes to in a year, I would expect another 10 assets or so, 8 to 10 assets in a year, including ones we already have, plus potentially new ones. Hey, Kevin, what happened to the THT staking? Yeah, there was a halvening, I guess, on THT, and they cut the rewards by half. So obviously we have to do the same. Good morning, Kevin. Love Coin Metro. What are your thoughts on the executive order that Biden put out, good or bad? Well, that executive order doesn't really do anything other than to say that we want to regulate. And this is how we want to regulate. Doesn't say how they're going to regulate, doesn't say how they're going to create laws. Just says we want to be kind of nice, but at the same time, we want to make sure, Putin doesn't take his Bitcoin and, I don't know, continue what he's been doing. The funny aspect, we've had a lot of conversations, not necessarily about Biden in the office, but there's a new laws coming into effect in Estonia on June 15th. They're already in the law, but they'll actually come into effect in June. Then you have MiCA, and you have all these things, travel rules, and obviously all this stuff is being pushed faster now because of Russia. They want to limit Russia's ability to move money. The sad thing about that is that no matter how much they do, they won't limit Russia's ability to move money. And I think there's some smart person somewhere in government. It's probably an intern that's like first year in college, and he or she's the smartest person in the room. But there's a smart person somewhere that understands that no matter what they do, they're not going to stop. And in fact, the more they do to try and regulate regulated enterprise, the more that the black market grows, because they will cut off not only the actual illicit money, but they will cut off normal people who will get pissed off and frustrated and start moving money through black markets, making those black markets bigger, and thus allowing those black markets to transact more actual illegal money. And they failed on that for the last 30 years in financial regulation, and they're kind of failing on it now. Imagine now crypto exchanges in general around the world are going to have to look more at sanctions. Now, we've always been looking at sanctions. We've always been doing our thing, but we aren't the norm in crypto. There's a dozen of us, 20 of us. There was only one at one point. That was us. But there's, some amount of crypto exchanges that do what they're supposed to do. Maybe there's 50 now. I don't know. But there's thousands of unregulated markets out there. And the regulators can't do anything about them. So they start out with this premise that they start out basically losing the game. And that's a shame, because, Putin can go right now on OpenSea and buy an NFT from himself for $1 billion, transfer that NFT to another distributed ledger or distributed wallet, go ahead and then cash that out through decentralized means into a bunch of different tokens, and then use money mules somewhere else in the world to cash out all those tokens into cash. And he's doing the same thing he's been doing through traditional banking, and none of these laws are going to stop it. In fact, they may even make it worse. So what I'd say is it's good that they're moving forward, because as I've been saying for years, regulation is coming. And if you think it's not, and you're not getting ready for it, you will lose this game entirely. And if you're not part of the conversation, you will lose this game. And it's good to see that some of the big boys in this industry, and I never tip my hat to CZ, but I'll tip it this once, saying that he is trying to make it look like they're doing the right thing. And he can get into more doors than I can because of the size of his business. And if he's saying anything near what he should be saying, and I'm sure he's coached by a lot of people, then that's actually good for the industry at large. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to save Binance, but it's good for the industry at large. 500K. Okay, last time I looked, it was 300K. See? I missed the old Coin Metro. Oh, I don't know what that means. Get this resolved, as it seems is becoming worse. Even with the current low level of marketing, there are large bottlenecks. I totally lost context on this one, Jens. I don't know the context. You're talking about just fee structure or what? Sorry, missed it. We are here for transparency, but what was true reason for staking Vesper instead of other assets? So you ask for transparency and then you assume I'm going to lie, or what? I don't get the question. So Vesper was brought in by one of our people on our executive team. I had a look just to make sure it wasn't a security. We did talk to the team, and we decided to list it. Now, why Vesper Staking? Well, Vesper has a platform that allows to stake just about anything. So it's a first step to allow us to stake assets that have no staking protocols built into their own mainnets, like Quant, for example, or like XCM. So it's not necessarily about Vesper. It's about what Vesper's building. Will the equity raise last month be held or reflected on CM's account or Ignium? You mean with the XCM raise? That's just XCM sitting in treasury. So would be reflected in our treasury wallet. No, the door is open. Yeah, sorry. I didn't. This one's closed, though. I have another door over here. That one's closed, if that makes you feel better. Is it true that initially that Parsec creators had no intention to make a token and you advised? That is absolutely true. Well, it's not that they had no intention. They were talking about making a token and they thought it might be a bad idea because it would put regulatory scrutiny on their business. And at least 2 of the 4 people in the room on the Parsec side were against it. And I was a champion for a token. So it doesn't mean they listened to me and did it because of me, but definitely there was some contention as to not doing a token. And that's one of the reasons why they came to talk to me in the first place. Hello, Kevin, please close your door. Yeah, I can't get up in the middle of the show, man. That'd be ridiculous. What if I'm not wearing pants? I mean, I am, but maybe I'm not. Hi, Kevin. What is your favorite vegan recipe you cook when guests come around? I don't really have guests in my house usually. That makes me sound really weird, but when I did have guests on and I was vegan, we did vegan pizza a few times. I like make a quick vegan mousse I think the desserts are always the most impactful to people. Unless, you can make like vegan chicken nuggets or something using chickpeas. They actually taste like chicken nuggets and have no meat ingredients. And those things kind of surprise people. But for me, it was always like the vegan dessert. So you take an avocado, some cocoa and a little bit of maybe some type of sweetener, whether that be agave syrup or whatever, in the blender for like 10 seconds, in the fridge for 5 minutes. And you have one of the best chocolate mousse you might ever consume, nice consistency, etc. That's always interesting because people can actually see you do it. They can watch you do it. They can help. But after it's been years, man, since I think I've cooked anything for guests. What do you think triggered the crypto bull run early 2021? There's a lot of things I think that kind of led into, and I hate these words bull run and bear run in crypto because people use them so loosely. Like, oh, we're in a bear market, we're in a bear run. We're in a bear market right now. No, we're not. But anyway, so I'd have to think back. There was definitely some market catalysts. I'm sure I talked about this back in 2001, for sure, 2021, sorry. But I think for the most part, you had more institutional money coming in. You had more positive news. You had more new people finally coming back in the market after three, almost 4 years worth of people being scared to come in the market. The equities markets were doing well, and then COVID. So COVID pushed people to think about many things, and one of those things that it pushed them to think about was controls. Government forcing you to do something, the fact that government may be able to do that with your money, et cetera, et cetera. I think there was a lot of triggers, but COVID is definitely a big piece, and the psychology around what happened, COVID and the decisions made by governments. Can you talk about your post-high school? My post-high school. Past high school, maybe? Can I talk about my high school? Is that what you got to clarify that question, man. I don't know what that means. Are you familiar with Casper? I'm not. So you can definitely DM me something and I'll take a look. What was your post-high school career path? What jobs did you have prior to your current position? Ooh. Well, post-high school, I never had a job. So I was an entrepreneur starting from about, I don't know what age, to be honest, but my first real business, I was probably 13 or 14. And then my first real business, like taxes and lots of employees and stuff, I was 17. And that was my last year of high school. So I did all kinds of stuff, actually, in electronics, in service industry, including laundromats, restaurants, all real estate, almost any industry you can imagine. I probably tried something in it. But jobs, the last job I had, if I can recall correctly, I think it was either Radio Shack or Men's Big and Tall, I think, to be honest. I'd have to think about it. I don't remember the exact timeline. 92.4% of all transactions in Sweden is done electronically. Basically, one shady business still using cash. Yeah, the government is probably the shady business using cash. Hi, Kevin. Once you said that you were expecting near soon KDA to be 3 digits, opinion hasn't changed. Opinion has not changed. This is a volatile market. So, prices will fluctuate, but my opinion hasn't changed. It's not based on where price is now, where I think price is going. It's based on value, perceived future value. Do you think long-term crypto market will have comparable market cap to that of the stock market? No, I don't. At least not in my lifetime. I do think it's going to have a massive market cap, but I think what's going to happen is most of the digital asset volume will still be stocks. They'll just be digitized and they'll be traded in a different way. Utility tokens and unregulated assets, I don't think are going to reach anywhere near 100 trillion. But the market, if you consider anything on a blockchain, then yes, absolutely. What are the USPs of CM that makes it deserve a 5 or 10 billion valuation? Well, that's not happening tomorrow. So right now our valuation is 180 million, and we have USPs that support way higher than that valuation. That's for sure. People, I think that, and this is gonna be my last question, guys. I'm gonna have to go. You guys can ping me on Telegram, and I'll try to answer your questions there. I have flights and all this other stuff, but you'll see me around on the weekend. So this is a cool question to end on. So in finance in general, people are treated differently. So you have your VIP clients and you have your standard clients, then you have the clients nobody wants. And I'm not talking about those that can't open up because of regulation. That's unfortunate sometimes, but let's not even include that because it's something we have to deal with as well. Just talking about your low value clients that the banks just don't want to deal with, or hedge funds or whatever. We want to change that. We are changing that. We service our clients with a 4.8 rating on Trustpilot because we try to give the same service to everybody. We don't care if you have 0 euros in your account or 10 million euros in your account. We're going to try and service you the same. That's a major thing, not just in crypto, but in finance in general. We are ultra transparent. Sometimes actually that's a crux because being so transparent, sometimes people take that in the wrong light. They think that we're like the whole missing deadlines thing. I tell you what I know the day I know it, but those things change. Just like internally in a business, things can change and pivot. But we are very transparent. That goes in line with our overall strategy and the fact that we want to create this global community of change makers. We want to make sure that it's not us that's going to foster change only. It's us, meaning our community, everybody who interacts with us. That's the us. And to do that, we need to be transparent. We need to be upfront with our clients. We need to treat all clients equal, and we need to be able to provide opportunities that otherwise these people wouldn't have access to. And that's what we do. And I don't think there's any other business out there that generally has those same ethics, and that may seem, I don't know, soft and squishy, but the world is getting to a point where it's starting to understand how the world works, how the game works, how markets actually function, how governments actually function, how power is actually seceded and gained, and et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's opening up people's eyes, not only to just crypto in general, decentralized money, or the ability to have a choice of putting your money in an asset that just loses value all the time, or putting your money in an asset that doesn't, and then being able through community to actually make sure that that asset continues to rise in value over time. That's an amazing power that normal people have pretty much never had in modern day. Aside from that, I think our UI UX, it gets better and better all the time. We put a lot of focus on user experience. That's not just about support, that's everything. User experience is key for us. And we only list things we actually partner and do things with. Now, obviously, Bitcoin and Ethereum, and at some point we are going to list things because they have volume, that's for sure, because a lot of clients are going to ask for it. But when we go out and we actually list a token, we do that because we vet it as best we can. That doesn't mean it's always going to make money, but it means that we're looking out not only for our clients, but our partners, as well as our shareholders. We want everybody to succeed here. We're not doing this just so that CoinMetro can make some money on the back of our clients. So there's probably more I could say. Yeah, transitory. Yeah, thanks, Philippe. Thanks, hereby. I'm going to have to skip to the end here. I'm sorry. I apologize, but I do have a lot of things to do, and unfortunately, I have a plane to catch and all this other nonsense. So love being here every week with you guys. Thanks a lot for the questions. I really do appreciate it. Good questions every week. I love getting great questions. I love questions that are hard to answer. If I didn't answer your question, you can tag me on Telegram at Kevin Murcko. Make sure it's Kevin Murcko, not Kevin Murcko 1 or Kevin Murcko or whatever. Make sure it's Kevin Murcko. Ask me for a voice message if you don't know it's me. you'll get one personally. If it is me, I love voice messages. Sorry about that. Tag me on Telegram if you want. You can tweet me on Twitter, same name, @KevinMurcko. I'm on Discord as well. Not so interactive there yet, but I'll get there, guys. Just trying to work out how best I can deal with Discord as well on my plate. See you here next week. I will be live from Dubai, I believe, next week. To check what my flight time is. Might be sitting at the airport. I don't know. But see you here next week. Thanks again for all the support. Onwards and upwards. Yeah. Cheers. What am I doing? Spend time with friends and family this weekend, like you always should. And if you can't do it physically, do it virtually. And no matter how you do it, make sure you shill XCM. I mean, come on, guys. What's going on? Everybody's talking about supporting price. No one's shilling. Shill. No, on a real note, let people know about CoinMetro. CoinMetro is a great place. I think we are the best exchange around for many, many reasons. We have our growing pains. We definitely can get better in different areas, and we will, and we're cognizant, and we're moving in that direction. Thanks, everybody.